a small neighborhood called Sunrise Estate, there lived a woman named Madame Rose. Madame Rose was one of the wealthiest women on the street. She had a large painted house, a beautiful car, expensive clothes, and a voice that could be heard from one end of the street to the other. But there was one thing Madame Rose did not have: kindness. Right beside her mansion was a small old house. The roof was rusty, the walls were cracked, and whenever it rained, the family living inside had to place buckets around the room to catch the water. That family was the Okafors. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor had 3 children. Their youngest was a 10-year-old girl named Amara. Amara was quiet. She was respectful. And despite her family's struggles, she always smiled. Every morning she walked to school carrying an old school bag that had been repaired so many times that nobody could remember its original color. One morning, as Amara walked past Madame Rose's compound, she stopped. She was wearing a faded school uniform. Her shoes were old. One of them had a small tear near the front. Madame Rose was washing her expensive car. She looked at Amara. Then she looked at the girl's shoes. She laughed. "Amara!" The little girl stopped. "Yes, Ma." Madame Rose pointed at her shoes. "Are you going to school or are you going to a farm?" Some of the neighbors laughed. Amara looked down. Her face became red. "I'm sorry, Ma." "Sorry for what?" Madame Rose laughed again. "Look at you. Your parents cannot even buy you proper shoes." Amara said nothing. She simply continued walking, but she could feel tears gathering in her eyes. At school, Amara tried to forget what happened. She couldn't. During break time, she sat alone beneath a tree. Her best friend asked her what was wrong. Amara forced a smile. "Nothing." But there was something. She was tired of being poor. She was tired of people laughing at her clothes. She was tired of watching other children eat things her parents couldn't afford. But most of all, she was tired of feeling ashamed of her family. That evening, Amara returned home. Her mother noticed her sadness. "What happened?" "Nothing, Mama." Her mother sat beside her. "You can tell me." Amara finally started crying. She told her mother everything. Her mother hugged her tightly. "My child, never be ashamed of where you come from." "But Mama, everybody laughs at us." "Let them laugh." Her mother wiped her tears. "Being poor today does not mean you will be poor tomorrow." Amara looked at her. "Do you really believe that?" Her mother smiled. "I do." Those words stayed in Amara's heart. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual. She studied, and studied, and studied. While other children were playing, Amara was reading. While Madame Rose's daughter spent money carelessly, Amara was learning everything she could. Her father noticed. One night he asked her, "Why are you studying so hard?" Amara looked up from her book. "Because I don't want our situation to remain like this forever." Her father smiled. "Then keep going." Years passed. Amara grew older. She became one of the brightest students in her school. Eventually, she won a scholarship to study abroad. The entire neighborhood celebrated. Everyone except Madame Rose. When she heard the news, she laughed. "Scholarship?" She shook her head. "People like them should focus on surviving, not dreaming." But Amara left. She worked harder than ever. She studied business and technology. She worked part-time jobs. There were nights she slept hungry. There were mornings she cried because she missed home. But she never gave up. After university, Amara created a small technology company. At first, it was just her and 2 friends working from a tiny apartment. They had one old computer, one broken office chair, and a dream. Then something changed. Their company created an app that solved a major problem for small businesses. Investors noticed. Money came in. The company grew. 5 employees became 20. 20 became 100. And eventually, Amara became a millionaire. But she never forgot where she came from. Meanwhile, back in Sunrise Estate, Madame Rose's life had changed. Her businesses began failing. She had borrowed heavily to maintain her expensive lifestyle. Then one business collapsed, then another. Her car was repossessed. Her mansion was eventually sold to pay her debts. The woman who once mocked poor people suddenly found herself struggling. One rainy afternoon, Madame Rose walked down the street carrying a small bag. She stopped in front of a magnificent mansion. The gate opened. A luxury car drove out, and inside the car was Amara. Madame Rose froze. She recognized her immediately. The little girl with the torn shoes. Except she wasn't little anymore. Amara stepped out of the car. She looked at Madame Rose. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Madame Rose lowered her head. "I know you remember me." Amara nodded. "I do. I'm sorry." Madame Rose's voice trembled. "I was cruel to you." Amara remained silent. "I laughed at your clothes." She wiped a tear from her face. "I made you feel ashamed of your family." Amara looked at her. "Why did you do it?" Madame Rose couldn't answer. Finally, she whispered, "Because I thought having money made me better than everyone else." Amara looked at the huge house behind her. Then she looked back at the woman standing in front of her. "Money can change your house." She paused. "But it doesn't automatically change your heart." Madame Rose began crying. "I lost everything." Amara nodded. "I heard. Can you help me?" The street became silent. Amara could have walked away. She could have reminded Madame Rose of every insult. She could have said, "You deserve this." But she didn't. Instead, she opened the gate. "Come inside." Madame Rose looked shocked. "Why?" "Because I know what it feels like to need help." Amara helped Madame Rose find a small apartment. She also gave her a job managing one of her community projects, not because Madame Rose deserved it, but because Amara refused to become the kind of person who had once hurt her. Years later, the old neighborhood looked completely different. The Okafor family no longer lived in the cracked house. Amara had built a beautiful home for her parents. Her father had retired. Her mother ran a charity that helped poor children with school fees, uniforms, and books. And every year, Amara returned to Sunrise Estate to give scholarships to children from struggling families. One afternoon, a little boy approached her. "Are you the woman who owns all these businesses?" Amara smiled. "No." She pointed toward her mother. "My family owns this success." The boy looked confused. "But you are rich." Amara laughed. "Yes." Then she looked at the neighborhood where she had once walked in broken shoes. "But I didn't become rich because I was better than anyone. I became successful because I refused to let poverty convince me that I was worthless." Across the street stood Madame Rose. She watched quietly. Her life was no longer luxurious, but she had changed. She volunteered at Amara's charity. She helped children with their homework. And whenever she saw a poor child wearing old clothes, she remembered the little girl she once humiliated. One day, Madame Rose approached Amara. "You know something?" "What?" "I used to think your old shoes were embarrassing." Amara smiled. "They were." Madame Rose laughed softly. "But those shoes carried you farther than my expensive car ever carried me." Amara looked at her, and they both smiled. Because sometimes, the person you look down on today may be the person you need tomorrow. And sometimes, the person wearing torn shoes is walking toward a future you cannot even imagine. So never judge someone by their clothes. Never measure someone's future by their present. And never use your success to make another person feel small. Because life has a strange way of changing positions. The person standing at the bottom today might be standing at the top tomorrow. And when that day comes, what will they remember about you? Your wealth? Your house? Your car? No. They will remember how you treated them when they had nothing. Because money can buy comfort. Money can buy houses. Money can buy cars. But it can never buy back the opportunity to show kindness when it mattered most. And that is a lesson Madame Rose never forgot. If you enjoyed and learned from the story, please leave a like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. See you next time.